Thank you all again so much for logging in on this call. Now, as I said at the beginning of this call, my background in hospitality and event management, I loved it. It was a passion. I really, really enjoyed what I was doing. But one thing that always concerned me is I wasn't financially where I wanted to be. I was working long hours and I was on a good salary, yes. But I wasn't in a position still that I was able to go and put a deposit on a house, or go and buy a Caribbean cruise, a lovely luxury 5-star holiday for my parents to enjoy. I still wasn't in a position where I could do things that I really wanted to do from my heart. So I thought to myself, well, if I'm continuing to work in my job and in my business, and the cost of living is going up every single year, and we talk about the necessities of life. We talk about, your gas, your electric, your council tax, your food bills, your travel expenses. I mean, things that you need to survive and in order for you to get to work, etc. If the cost of living is going up by 12 to 15% every single year, and ask yourself how much the average salary is increasing, 0 to 2%. Now, you don't have to be a rocket scientist or a mathematician to figure out actually the nation is becoming poorer. So in the next 5 to 10 years, you're either going to be rich and wealthy, or you're going to be poor and middle class. In fact, middle class is slowly getting eliminated. You're either really rich or you're really poor. So this for me was a massive eye-opener. And I said, I've got to find another way as a plan B that I can have that a little bit of extra income. And guys, I wasn't looking at making hundreds and thousands of pounds a month or a year. No, I was just looking at that extra £400-500, £600 a month. It can go a long, long way. Ask yourself how much an extra £500 a month would do for you, for your household, for your expenses. And it makes a massive difference. So these are some of today's challenges. Again, if you've just joined me on Insta Live, you're not going to be able to see my screen share, but I do hope that you can get most of what I'm speaking about and what I'm going to talk about today just through this. If you do want to have a look at screen share and you want to see the presentation, download zoom.us, and the number is 980-133. It should be on this chat if you just scroll a little bit up. So that's today's challenges. Now, 85% of people, this is a fact, and this is really scary. 85% of people actually are not happy in their jobs. Ask yourself if you're one of those people. I'm going to be honest, I wasn't. I actually really enjoyed my job. I had a lot of fun. My boss was like my best friend, and it really makes a difference if you're happy in your place of work. A lot of things in your life, you're really satisfied with, you're really happy with. But the other way around, if you're not happy going into work every morning and you have that Monday blues, that feeling in your stomach on a Sunday night, which kind of feels like a washing machine. Oh my God, you've got another whole week of work and you don't want to go, and you don't want to face your boss and your colleagues that you're arguing with, and you don't want to keep doing the mundane thing again and again and again. And if you have these kind of feelings, it's going to affect so many different aspects of your life. It's going to affect your health. It's going to affect your family. It's going to affect your self-confidence. It's going to affect so many areas which you don't realize in the beginning. And sometimes some of this stuff is so subconsciously inside you that you just generally feel depressed and upset all the time. And it becomes a way of life for a lot of people, which is sad because it shouldn't be. Whatever you're doing in life, I always say to people, be happy. It doesn't matter if you're not making the money you want to make, but if you're not happy working in your job and you're not satisfied with the money you're making in your job, then what are you all doing it for? Ask yourself that question. What is it that you're doing it for? Just to pay your bills? Just to kind of keep your head above water? That's what you want to do for the rest of your life? It wasn't for me. So I had made that decision. Although I was happy in my job, it still wasn't giving me the financial satisfaction that I needed, and things that I wanted to do. So what do we do today? Okay, what am I here sharing with you today? I'm sharing with you an educational platform, something that helps you empower you. Because ask yourself the question, who do you trust most with your money? Now, I can already hear a lot of people saying my husband, my wife. You want to think twice about that, guys. I'm joking. If you trust your spouse, then do you know what? You're blessed. You're very, very blessed. I absolutely trust my spouse. But who do you really trust the most with your money? It's going to be yourself. Think about it. So we really empower you. We do not trade your money for you. We do not tell you to put money somewhere and just wait for things to happen. We want you to be in charge of making your own money, of multiplying your own wealth. We want to teach you a skill for life that nobody can ever take away from you. And I wish I had learned something like this in my traditional education. I wish I had learned something like this when I was at university, learning how to turn £5 into £10, £10 into £50. Because I'm not going to be here talking hundreds and thousands of pounds, guys. Absolutely not. I'm talking about how to multiply small amount of money. Okay, someone just saying there's no sound on here. Just bear with me, guys. I'm not sure why that is. Can you hear me now? I just want to make sure those on Insta Live, if you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up or let me know. Okay. Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. So let me just crack on with this. There's a few messages on the chat I'm just going to have a look at. Okay, perfect. So now this is what I'm sharing with you, those of you who are on the Zoom and on Facebook Live, okay? If you're not on Facebook, you can join rupa.palmer, okay? Find me on Facebook and you can see my screen as well. So this is something that completely changed my mindset. And this is something that I read about in the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you have never heard of this book, I want you to write it down. I want you to look it up. Robert Kiyosaki, he's a self-made millionaire, and he's someone that has sold thousands, in fact, millions and millions of copies of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he talks about the cash flow quadrant. And in simple version, what I'm going to discuss here on the cash flow quadrant is 4 legal ways that you can make money. So each and every one falls into one of these categories. Okay, number one, you've got 60% who are actually working for themselves. 60% of people in the world are employees. And so what do we do as employees? We are exchanging our time for money. You work 8 hours, you get paid 8 hours. You work 10 hours, you get paid 10 hours. In my case, I was a manager. I was a sales and events manager with a very big company in central London. And I was contracted to only 40 hours a week. However, I figured after all the hours that I was actually doing in the week physically, and that was anything between 50 and 60 hours in the week, when I divided that down by the salary I was getting paid, I thought to myself, hang on, I'm actually only barely making minimum wage. So those of you that in managerial positions in a job, and you have contracted hours that you are supposed to do, ask yourself how many hours you actually do. Because in today's competitive industry and the economy the way it is, you have to do maximum hours. You have to fulfill your job. I don't even think 9 to 5 exists anymore. People walking out on the dot 5 o'clock. I don't remember the last time I did that, even in my job. So, you know, now times have changed so much that you are actually giving maximum amount of hours, but you may not be getting paid what you think you should be getting paid. So 60% of people are in jobs because of this word security. What is security, guys? Security is actually non-existent anymore. We no longer live in the industrial ages where people needed physical labor and they needed, you know, the manufacturers needed people to do certain things behind the machine or behind a job. Now we live in information ages. Technology has taken over so much that it's changed everything. Machines have taken over human beings. It's so clear. You go to a supermarket, you see more self-service checkouts than you do people serving you behind the counter. You know, and I hate that. I went to LA a couple of months ago and I was like, where's all the people gone? You know, even having to put your own suitcase on the weighing belt and just putting it in there so the conveyor takes it. There's literally no one behind the counter anymore. You're printing off your own, you know, tickets to put around your suitcases. And I was like, wow, everything has literally become self-service. And this is why security is no longer there. But let's just say you're one of the 35%. The 35% of people who are self-employed, who say, actually, I'm a little bit more ambitious. I want to do something for myself. I don't want to just rely on a job for the rest of my life. Great. Two things you need as someone who's self-employed. Number one is you need the finance. You need the capital. Let's just say you had the capital, whether it's 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, whatever it's going to cost you to set up your own business. Secondly is the idea. What are you actually going to do today which is not going to, be at any threat to your business in terms of competition or interest rates, inflation, things changing, technology changing all the time around you, that 80% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. And then out of that 80%, a further 80% fail in the first 10 years. And the ones who are actually there still standing doesn't necessarily mean after 10 years they're even making any profit. It just means they're just still standing. So now even someone who is self-employed is becoming more and more and more riskier. And the massive risk, I think, is actually on your health, because you're no longer working the 8 to 10 hours that you would in a normal job. You're now working minimum 14 to 16 hours physical, but mentally 24 hours a day. You're thinking about when you're going to break even. You're thinking about you can't call in sick at work. You're thinking about you can't go on holiday. You can't spend time with your family because no one's going to pay you if you're not physically there. So that's 95% of the world at the moment that we're talking about. The employee, 60%, the self-employed, 35%. But who is this extra 5%? You've got 4% business owners and the 1% in the investor mindset, investor quadrant. This is what Robert Kiyosaki says is the rich man's playground, where your money is working for you more than you are working for your money. So what is a big business owner? Look at the likes of Starbucks or Holiday Inn or Tesco's or McDonald's. Where are the owners of these companies? You will never see them behind the counter. You will never see them at the reception desk serving you, saying, how can I help? These people have done something very smart. They've taken a business model. They have simply, made that business model so successful that they've managed to duplicate it all over the world. And they've created something called a system. Now, 5% of the world work on a system. This is where the money works for you, as opposed to 95% of the world where they are working for the money. It's very person-centric. You've got to physically be at your place of work in order for you to make money. The people who are in the 5% have a system running for them. They no longer have to be there. It runs for them regardless. 6 years, 6 months, 6 weeks, it doesn't matter. So I was like, wow, that's interesting. I actually am in the self-employed because I had my own wedding planning business. And I was working as an employee, as an event manager. So I was in both quadrants in the 95%, but I couldn't see myself getting to the 5%. I couldn't see myself giving my company to somebody else to look after because I am the face of my business. It's my reputation on the line. It's my hard work. It's my brand that I've created for myself. I could not leave that to somebody else. I said, how am I going to go from 95% to the 5%? And those of you watching, I'll ask you the same question, because it's irrelevant if you love what you're doing today. It's irrelevant if you're happy with what you're making. You've got to ask yourself, how many hours do you get in your one day? Because everyone has been born with equal amount of hours in their life. God has been fair to everyone. 24 hours we have in our day. However, look at the likes of Richard Branson. How many hours does he have in his one day? Tens of thousands of hours. The owner of McDonald's. How many hours does he have in his one day? So why is this relevant to what I'm going to share with you today? For two reasons. Number one, you get to learn a skill for life. You are investing your time. You are investing into education, which is going to teach you how to multiply money. Number two, you have an additional option as a business partner where you can have a profit share with the company, for the company to say, thank you very much for sharing this, this business opportunity with other people and helping them to also learn a skill. We are now going to pay you on a residual income. That's optional. So I'm going to go straight into this and show you what this phenomenal platform has actually done for me and so many thousands of people around the world. Now, what are we talking about?